What kind of things are you? What are your talking points you're bringing up?
Well, first I usually
How about
let
this?
them.
Say I'm a communist right now, and you're trying to tell me about this. Give me your spill. Tell me what it is. How would you bring awareness to what it is you're trying to get out?
Well, if it was a communist, he already has his mind set up. He's brainwashed by cultural Marxism. He doesn't even realize it. These people don't even realize that they've been brainwashed by an old school Soviet tactic that's been gone for like 20 years, and it's falling into place. These anarchists, these cultural Marxists, they don't even realize that they're spewing slavery and, you know, all the things that come with communism. And I'll come up to them, I'll ask them, what's up with the red flag? And they'll say socialism. So I'm starting to think socialism is the beginning stages of communism. Yeah, it's the first step. It's the baby steps. But we've seen some extremes. I've seen, got a lot of pictures here of people with, you know, masks on, black bandanas, red flags.
There's the coffin.
There's the coffin.
Death to the DNC.
Death to the DNC. Now, a lot of these people agree with me, though. No one's voting for Hillary. I've been around. Everyone is Bernie Sanders. And now they're all starting to go to someone named Jill, the Green Party leader. So, I mean, no one here, I'll tell you, about like 10,000 strong yesterday, and none of them were voting for Hillary at all. It's a lot of anger out here.
Well, there you have it. Joey, a local, teaching people about globalism outside of the DNC in South Philly. This has been Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com in the middle of the hornet's nest.
David Knight from INFOWARS.com. We're here at the Philadelphia Convention, the Democrat Convention, and we're talking to an activist for the TPP. You are?
Lauren Steiner from Los Angeles.
Now, you've been a long-time TPP activist, you tell us. Tell us what happened at this convention and where this is headed, you think?
Okay, what we did last night, we did an action on the floor, basically to bring the Trans-Pacific Partnership to the attention of the 15,000 media that are here and all of the audience around the world that are watching it. We did this because Senator Sanders did not bring the minority report on the Trans-Pacific Partnership to the floor for a floor fight. There were 6 minority reports. One of them was the Hightower Amendment, basically saying that the Trans-Pacific Partnership should not come for a vote before the lame duck Congress. You know that Obama and the Republican leadership have been pushing this for years. They were able to get fast track approved last year against almost every single Democrat. They rammed it through using every procedural trick in the book. And Bernie Sanders has been fighting these free trade agreements since they started. He spoke up against NAFTA in 1991. He was absolutely right about the effects of NAFTA and these free trade agreements. Since they were instituted, we've lost 57,000 factories have shut, and 5 million high-paying American manufacturing jobs have gone overseas. So, as you say, I've been fighting the TPP since I found out about it. As you know, it's been negotiated in secret for 8 years, but I found out about it in 2011. I've done several protests, one at a Barack Obama fundraiser in Beverly Hills, one at a Michelle Obama fundraiser in Hancock Park, one at a Hillary Clinton fundraiser in Beverly Hills, basically because I know that the media will not cover an issue like this, but they will cover when the president or Secretary Clinton comes into town. So we use that occasion to get it out to the public, at least in Los Angeles.
Let's talk about the history of this a bit, because of course you're talking about Bernie Sanders has been opposing this a long time, these trade deals, NAFTA deals, but of course also Donald Trump has done it. I mean, we see this happening now, unprecedented pretty much. You talked about how the Republican establishment is really pushing hard for this, saying it's free trade, we want to have free trade. It's not free trade, it's managed trade, it's crony capitalism. Donald Trump has pointed this out. He took out ads 30 years ago talking about how NAFTA was a bad deal. It was put in with Bill Clinton. So how do you feel after you see Hillary was for it, then she was against it, now she's picked Kaine as her VP, who is thoroughly in for all of these trade deals. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, that's why I was never for Hillary, and that's why I did a Hillary, not ready for Hillary protest before I even joined Bernie's campaign. I think she's a neoliberal corporatist and a neoconservative warmonger, and I think she's very dangerous for this country. Bernie Sanders, like you said, has been on the right side of this issue. We haven't even improved our trade balance. In fact, it's gone the other way with every single country. They told us that about Korea, they told us that about Central America, and what happens is we have less trade with them. It's really just a big giveaway from the multinational corporations. It's bad for workers, it's bad for consumers, consumers, it's bad for the environment, and it's bad for national sovereignty because it makes corporations more powerful than governments.
And we've already seen that with NAFTA, and we see that with these trade agreements, so TPP, TTIP, we see that the corporations have written these agreements. They bring these things up, and of course, all these senators, Republican and Democrat, who voted for it, the TPA essentially shuts down the whole process that you would have for ratifying a treaty. They don't want to call them a treaty. They want to call it a trade agreement, or it's a partnership, but it's a treaty. When they go back and they look at NAFTA and these, these adjudication ceremonies that they have, which are really, an arbitration process with the corporations equal partners to the government, they call that a treaty law negotiation. So they know these trade agreements, these partnerships are treaties.
Well, actually, of the TPP, of the 28 chapters in the TPP, only 2 of them actually relate to trade. And we have bilateral trade agreements with most of these countries anyway. So this particular agreement is just to ensure corporate protections and to make them above the law. And as you said, these international trade tribunals are kangaroo courts because the judges are not elected by the people to whom they're accountable. They are corporate lawyers who alternate between judging these cases and representing the very corporations. Yeah. So who do you think they're going to side with? Just like you said, the arbitration process, which we're all now forced to sign these arbitration agreements, signing away our rights to have a court trial, and it's horrific.
Well, there you have it, Bernie bros. Bernie bowed out. He said he wanted to go ahead and suspend the process and nominate Hillary Clinton. She's making history. She is going to be the first woman to get the Democratic nomination for a major political campaign. A lot of Bernie supporters actually walked out. They're chanting, "This is what democracy looks like." They were rightly upset. Here they put all their faith in Bernie Sanders, who says he's going to change the establishment, fight against the machine, and then he, in just one instance, turns around and says, nope, now you need to support the candidate who is the most establishment ever, taking big money. Elizabeth Warren yesterday jokingly, I mean, she was serious, but it was a total joke, saying that she wanted to get big money out of politics. I mean, it's just, here's the thing, is that it was never about the revolution. It was always about the agenda. And the agenda was to push the party further to the left. It's now being called the most progressive platform they've ever run on. This is absolutely frightening. And hopefully all those disillusioned Bernie supporters can see that perhaps this isn't the route they want to see the country take.
Well, they are understandably upset, and there's no question that the Clintons openly stole the nomination from Sanders, who annihilated her. You know, INFOWARS, they were on the ground at the DNC. I was watching some of these reports. 80-1. They couldn't find a single, Clinton supporter, and when they did, they were so out of their minds. They weren't coherent. I really couldn't understand what they were saying, but the Bernie people were so passionate. And, Leon, that goes hand in hand with what we're seeing coming out of polling numbers in specifically 11 states. I found this lawsuit exposing a nationwide voter rigging issue with the DNC in the primaries that could actually derail her if it's successful. But in 11 states, 11 different states, not just one, 11, the exit polls and the electronic votes that totaled, they were different the morning after the primaries, which means that there is an issue with the electronic voting system.
Oh, you don't say.
Thumbs on the scale.
We didn't tell you that that was going to happen all the time. Of course, these electronic voting machines coming out of Brazil, where they said if that was the election was swayed there as well due to these electronic voting machines. It's all rigged. And as we know from the DNC leaks, the whole system was rigged. And perhaps that's why Bernie wanted to go ahead and suspend that vote count, because perhaps he did know that he had enough delegates there to go ahead and sway this election.
Oh, there's no question. If you look at his numbers, and the DNC from the very beginning, and we know a lot of this because of WikiLeaks, you and I covered this yesterday, they've gone after his religion, the way that he looks, the way that he behaves, tried to marn him, keeping him out of a voter database for unethical behavior when he didn't do anything. They're the ones being unethical. They've had their hand on the scale since the beginning of this. It was always her nomination. It was about keeping him out of the process. They underestimated the revolution aspect of him, if you will. And what's baffling to me, he's calling for his supporters to back Clinton, the ultimate corrupt candidate. I don't think there's been a more corrupt candidate in history. But, the spirit to resist tyranny would be on the side of Trump. And even the Clinton News Network is saying that Trump is ahead of Clinton. So let's just hope that those really disenfranchised people, it's not too late to wake up here. Your party screwed you. Your party absolutely kicked you out. And you've got people like, it really upsets me. This comedian, this Sarah Silverman gets on the stage non-scripted, and she says, you guys need to give it up already. It's ridiculous. They think you're ridiculous. That's what she just said. You're ridiculous. I mean,
right.
come
How dare
on.
you have passion? How dare you try to fight for democracy? How dare you look at the facts and see that this system is totally rigged? You know, just a month or so ago, Bernie is speaking out saying that this whole system is rigged. The election was rigged from the start. The DNC was obviously supporting Hillary Clinton. And then when you have facts and you have an activated populace that wants to back you, then you just bow out and you say, you know what? It's fine. Go ahead and support Hillary Clinton. She needs this. He wasn't really going to do anything to change the establishment. He never had it in him. He was probably surprised he even got that far because it was never about Bernie getting this election. It was about getting Hillary in, forcing her to be even more progressive and take on some of those policies that aren't going to work. We're already $18 trillion in debt. How are we going to pay for free college?
Well, not only that, but, you know, I just want to say, and it's comforting to look at this because their paradigm, it is collapsing, obviously. You know, people are awake. They understand what's going on. And the tyranny, the spirit to resist it is here. And it's my hope that his supporters, you know, those 80 to 1 on the ground, they realize maybe we shouldn't listen to him. Maybe he betrayed us. He folded like a cheap suit. And therefore, maybe we need another
lie
candidate.
the whole time.
Correct, correct. And you know, I have some friends, you know, and they're really, I like passion, I like honesty, but we're talking about somebody who was pushing a communist agenda. Do you really want to live in a communist country? That's the bottom line. And, you know, that really says something that people are so poor, they're so fed up, you know, they're so disenfranchised that they're willing to accept communism as opposed to just running with the truth and liberty.
Right.
Just amazing.
He is pushing policies that have failed worldwide over and over again. It's one of the most oppressive regimes that's out there, people that are involved in these communist regimes. And of course, people do not understand that because they're not getting the accurate history. They're only getting that sort of whitewashed version of it, being taught to hate their own country and what it stands for, not being educated on the fact that all countries that are, you know, in some sort of a powerful role have all gotten there through conquest. I mean,
and through liberty and through a true spirit of liberty. You know, I have a poli-sci, I love poli-sci, and they push and glamorize Marxism in college like it's unreal. You really have to kind of go, wait a second, this is glamorous? This is really what we want? We want a Marxist state and then ultimately a communistic state where we have no property, no individuality, no rights? Really?
Yeah.
Really? But you better be backing Hillary Clinton or you're ridiculous.
Right, exactly. No, it's absolutely insane, just the amount of people that buy into this, even though it's killed hundreds of millions of people. And I actually got in an argument with the kid that was pushing socialism where he admitted ultimately they want communism. But he's sitting there telling me that communism, socialism hasn't killed hundreds of thousands of people worldwide and that capitalism, obviously the big experiment here in the U.S. has failed. And I'm thinking, okay, it's only been tried here. It hasn't failed. It's lifted billions of people out of poverty. But communism, over and over again, has literally failed so many times.
They need to be mad at the elites that have hijacked our nation, the globalists that have taken over and have actually dictated. You know, they've had such a strong hand in our own economy. That's who they need to be angry at, not the capitalists trying to make money and support people and create jobs. You know, 85% of businesses in this country are small businesses, 8 employees or less. And those are the people on the ground, the true capitalists, if you will, that are employing people. Oftentimes they give up health insurance for themselves just so that they can have it for their employees, giving up vacations. That's the mark of somebody that has a true spirit of liberty, who believes in this system and creates jobs.
Right. And it's the crony capitalism that you need to be fighting against, which, of course, we talk about that all the time. That is wrong, putting your corporate profits over the people. And I think people should rightly be angry about that. But the answer is not to give all of the power to produce to a corrupt government. Right. That was the main problem I had with Bernie Sanders from the get-go. It's like, yes, I admire your passion. I like some of the policies that you're putting out there, but you want to give all the power to the corrupt government that's already in place. So, you know, a lot of Sanders diehards are saying he didn't convince any of us. And their reaction to his speech is like, how could you let us down? You totally failed us. We put our faith in you.
Oh, he did.
And he turned out to be a total sellout. And then, you know, they have papers coming out saying, well, he didn't sell out because he managed to push the $15 minimum wage. He managed to push the party further to the left, get some of the things he wanted there in the rules.
Right.
So.
He was even calling delegates, telling them not to comply. He was personally calling delegates on the floor, telling them to comply with this new mandate that, oh yeah, Hillary Clinton